Discussing e-cigarettes may not be a new topic, but the discussion around them has never ceased since they entered public view. Are they really healthier than traditional cigarettes? Welcome to PAP Tips. In this video, we will deeply understand e-cigarettes, and based on our analysis, we will provide some tips about them. Remember our slogan, little tips, big difference. Let's begin. The working principle of an e-cigarette is to heat a liquid containing nicotine, known as e-liquid or vape juice, turning it into inhalable vapor. This process doesn't involve the burning of tobacco, hence, it does not produce the smoke seen in traditional cigarettes. E-cigarettes mainly consist of a battery, atomizer, and a container for storing the e-liquid. When working, the battery powers the atomizer whose heating element rapidly heats up, vaporizing the e-liquid into a large amount of steam, which users inhale for a smoking-like effect. This is the basic principle of e-cigarettes. Although certain aspects have been replaced with newer technology, like atomizers using ultrasonic technology to generate steam more efficiently, and internal control circuits detecting airflow changes to activate automatically, the fundamental principle of e-cigarettes producing nicotine vapor through vaporizing e-liquid remains unchanged. Nicotine is a naturally occurring alkaloid and the main addictive component of cigarettes and other tobacco products. It stimulates the central nervous system by mimicking the neurotransmitter acetylcholine, causing short-term alertness and pleasure, but long-term use leads to nicotine dependence. The concentration of nicotine decreases with metabolism, and once it drops to a certain level, withdrawal symptoms occur, which is why some people continuously consume nicotine. Traditional cigarettes produce smoke through burning, which, apart from containing nicotine, also releases tar and various harmful substances. Tar contains several known carcinogens, and long-term inhalation increases the risk of cancer. It also enters the lungs with the smoke, clogging the tiny airways and deteriorating lung function. This is the main reason e-cigarettes are touted as a healthier method of nicotine intake. E-liquids typically consist of main components such as nicotine, propylene glycol, PG, and vegetable glycerin, VG, with PG and VG acting as solvents, generally considered safe for human consumption. Although e-cigarettes do not contain tar and some harmful substances found in traditional cigarettes, they are not harmless. The nicotine in e-liquids is highly addictive and can lead to cardiovascular problems and potential impacts on adolescent brain development. Although traditional cigarettes also contain nicotine, the concentration in e-cigarettes is generally higher. Moreover, compared to traditional cigarettes, e-cigarettes offer a more convenient way to intake nicotine, making it easier to consume excessive amounts. Additionally, due to the lack of effective regulation of e-cigarette products, some e-cigarette vapors may contain fine particles, heavy metals like lead and nickel, and other harmful chemicals, all of which could damage lung health. Of particular concern is the recent emergence of a disease known as e-cigarette, or vaping product use-associated lung injury, EVALI, directly related to e-cigarette use. Symptoms include severe respiratory difficulty, coughing, chest pain, and in extreme cases, it can lead to death. Studies have linked this disease to e-liquids containing vitamin E acetate. Wait, why is vitamin E acetate in e-liquids? How can vitamin E cause harm? This is because, in pursuit of a stimulating experience, some e-liquids contain THC. THC, short for tetrahydrocannabinol, is a primary psychoactive component of the cannabis plant. In some THC-containing e-cigarette products, vitamin E acetate is used as a diluent or extender to increase product volume or mimic the viscosity of higher-quality THC oil, thereby reducing production costs. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, found in their investigation of the 2019 outbreak of e-cigarette-related lung diseases that many EVALI cases involved products containing vitamin E acetate, particularly those on the illicit market containing THC. To enhance product appeal, many e-cigarette manufacturers add a range of enticing flavors to e-liquids, making them smell like fruits, coffee, or even candy. These appealing flavors effectively mask the bitterness and harshness of nicotine, which not only may lead to unintentional overconsumption of nicotine but also attract people who are not originally interested in nicotine to try e-cigarettes, gradually forming a dependence. More importantly, these flavors are particularly attractive to minors, leading them to experiment with e-cigarettes and significantly increasing their risk of transitioning to traditional smoking in the future. This trend has raised widespread concern among public health experts, prompting regulatory agencies and public health institutions to take measures, such as restricting or banning the sale of flavored e-cigarettes to minors, to reduce temptation and prevent them from falling into the trap of nicotine dependence. Although e-cigarettes have not been around for a long time, their rapid spread has attracted attention from all sides. Many countries have already responded positively and implemented regulatory measures for e-cigarettes and related products. For example, several European countries have established standards and regulations for e-cigarettes, such as limiting nicotine concentration, mandating product labels and health warnings, and monitoring product quality on the market. In the United States, the federal and state governments are actively assessing and adjusting legislation regarding e-cigarettes, especially regarding sales restrictions to minors and bans on certain flavored products. Asian countries have varied responses. Some, like South Korea and Japan, allow the sale of e-cigarettes but emphasize product safety and user responsibility, while others opt for a complete ban. So, how should we view e-cigarettes? This is a difficult question to answer, as different scenarios may warrant different answers. Here at PAP Tips, we offer 5 tips. Tip 1: Don't start using nicotine because of e-cigarettes. Although e-cigarettes are generally considered less harmful to the body than traditional cigarettes, it doesn't mean they are completely harmless to health. E-cigarettes also contain nicotine, often at higher concentrations than traditional cigarettes. Nicotine is a highly addictive substance that causes dependence in users. Apart from its addictive nature, nicotine has been proven to increase the risk of various diseases, especially for adolescents, causing harmful and sometimes irreversible damage to the developing brain. So, no matter the reason, whether it's because of the tempting flavors of e-cigarettes or the belief that they are a fashionable electronic device, do not start experimenting with e-cigarettes. If you are already a traditional cigarette user, PAP Tips also primarily suggests quitting smoking or using nicotine replacement methods recommended by doctors. Using e-cigarettes as a substitute for traditional cigarettes is better in many ways, but be aware of new problems brought by e-cigarettes, such as excessive nicotine intake. Tip 2: Do not use unidentified e-cigarette products. Using illegal or uncertified e-cigarette products is extremely dangerous because the quality and ingredients of these products cannot be guaranteed. They may contain harmful substances, such as heavy metals, toxic chemicals, and even vitamin E acetate, which can have severe impacts on health. Tip 3: Avoid excessive nicotine intake. E-cigarettes, compared to traditional cigarettes, are more convenient to use, and it's easier to achieve high nicotine concentrations in e-liquids. The flavors of e-liquids might be very appealing, leading users to consume more nicotine. Excessive use of e-cigarettes can still lead to nicotine poisoning, manifested as nausea, headaches, accelerated heartbeat, and other symptoms. Users are advised to monitor their frequency of use and avoid prolonged continuous vaping. Tip 4: Be mindful of those around you. Although the secondhand vapor from e-cigarettes is considered less harmful than the secondhand smoke from traditional cigarettes, it can still pose health risks to non-smokers, particularly children, pregnant women, and people with health issues. Therefore, it's wise to avoid using e-cigarettes in enclosed or poorly ventilated spaces and near children and susceptible groups. Tip 5: Comply with local laws. Different countries and regions have varying legal regulations regarding e-cigarettes. Some areas may have age restrictions, usage location restrictions, or outright bans on e-cigarettes. Understanding and complying with local laws before using e-cigarettes is essential to avoid legal risks. Finally, PAP Tips advises you, if possible, to stay away from any products containing nicotine. Nicotine is highly addictive, and many people who want to quit smoking are defeated by nicotine withdrawal. However, physical withdrawal symptoms generally last only about 2 weeks. From this perspective, enduring 2 weeks of discomfort for a lifetime of health is undoubtedly worth it. That's all for this video. If you have any insights about e-cigarettes, please discuss them in the comments section. If you find the video helpful, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.